himself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Newhoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the out pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And it definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down it towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching. The Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there as they're really bunching up now.
On to the Hungaroring. Let's have a circuit. Host the Formula One Grand Prix. At a time since October 18 sets the scene. 4th round of Season 4 Sim Racing for Simpletons Super. It's Alex Goldschmidt joining me in the booth. Very short. Be Mr. James Parfitt. It's a little housekeeping. Remind you of what happened time out at VIR and also update standings. So last time out, it was Jeff Groff that took not only pole position but also won the race after what was an interesting event at that particular circuit. 28 laps in total. He won ahead of teammates from Stino Motorsports Christian Esper, with Gabriel Hopp rounding out the top three. Christopher Sears and Brian Long rounding out the top. Seems to be getting more into every single time. Joshua Benjamin in Scarlet, Travis McQuistion and Anthony Zitch ran top 10. Zitch also took the fastest lap of the race. A couple of moments along the way, Tom Zhang unfortunately ended up 3 laps down in 13th. Chris Gibbo and Don Runkle Jr. also made their debuts in the season. However, looking at the drivers' standings coming into this round of the championship, Carson Keane took the opening 2 wins of the season, 68 points, just 7 ahead of Jeff Groff. Junior Asper, just a single solitary behind in third. Brian Long and Gabriel Hopp round out the top 5. Anthony Warble, Anthony Zitch, and Christopher Sears all level on 4 points apiece, tied equal for 6. Aaron Morgan rounds out the top 9, with Marcy Rogers complete the top 10. Joshua Benjamin moves ahead of Indica Scarlet in the table, just separated by a point. Tom Zhang on 18 points, ahead of Don Runkle, and then it's a 4-way tie for 15th with James Cunningham, Alexander Rivera, Skibbo, and Travis McQuistion on 16 apiece, with Seth MacFarlane last on tally, 19th place, 15. So a win gets you 30 points. If you get pole position, it's an additional point. One drop week per driver, but qualifying is underway, and well, better time to bring in Mr. Parfitt. Hello, James, buddy. Good to be back alongside with you.
How are you, bud? It's been, it's been a fun day today. I've got to be honest, it's been a bit of a manic one, but all in all, this should be a fun one. This circuit, 14 turns, not renowned at times within the sim racing industry is having great racing. Like, there's a lot of people that you can talk to as commentators, and you probably ask them what their worst track is, and it's probably going to be the Hungaroring. You know, earlier on we saw the IGP Super Formula lights come here, and it took at least a good 2 or 3 laps before overtakes were made, because it is just such a difficult circuit to make passes on. So are we going to see abundance of passes? I'm not entirely sure. Do we think we're going to see some? Absolutely, but it is going to be very tricky, and they're going to have to set them up coming out of 14 down into turn 1. That was the most predominant place earlier on. Turn 2 as well, if you can get that inside line, you're able to take the inside and get the pass done as well, but it does jeopardize your exit coming out of 2. So there's a lot to think about here, and a lot of people are going to have to really kind of pay attention to see how they're going to get on and make their overtakes.
Indeed, we're 3.5 minutes into qualifying, and the returning points leader, Carson Keane, is back where we've not seen him the first 2 rounds of the championship. In qualifying, 1 minute 25, dead on the nose. Gabriel Hopp currently rounding out P2. Jeff Groff, Anthony Wall, and Junior Asper ran top 5, covered by just under a second. Riding on board the triple Casino Motorsports, he's making his way out of turn 3 to 4, and then up this little run, top part of the circuit. A lot of directional change and a lot as well, James. It's a circuit, as you said, IGP Super Formula lights earlier on, that it is difficult to overtake, but commentated on Super Formula at this very circuit. Dramas along the way, weren't there?
Yeah, I think there's always going to be, and we had it earlier as well. There was some, moves that were possibly you might sit back and say unnecessary. Now, one of the things they've got to look out for is they're coming up now from the run of turn 3, a Gabriel Hope here coming into 4. Now, on the outside of 4, there is a nasty drain, and if they run wide and they hit that drain, we saw it earlier on to Jakub Oleszewski, who was leading the race. He hit that drain, the drain grabbed the tyre, and it normally would shoot him off to the left-hand side. He got really lucky, and it shot him off to the right, which was a long concrete runoff. He managed to hold it, but by the time he's going into 5, he's going on the grass because he just cannot get the car off the grass. There are flash points, though. They've got to be careful of turn 4. That is a definitive don't run wide, because if you do, anything's liable to happen. Turn 2, you're expecting people to take long winding arcs in, and as you see here with Jeff Groff, you're coming into 2 now. You leave that much door open, somebody's going to want to be in the inside. But what Jeff's doing is taking the natural line, so therefore that door will be left open for somebody to have a dive. So they've got to be careful to make sure that they don't get stuck in that one either. So, you know, there's lots of things to think about, and hopefully they should all do it, you know, fine. We don't want any mass dramas here either. There's going to be good racing. Which way is it going to go? I can't tell you, because, you know, it's just, I don't predict the future, to be honest, and if I did, I'd go and do the lottery. But it is just one of them things. It can be a tough circuit, but you've got to just make sure you're hitting your marks.
Yeah, indeed. We're coming into the final half minutes or so of this qualifying session. It's Jeff Groff. It's 3.5 tenths of a second behind Carson Keane. Gabriel Hopp rounds out the top 3. Anthony Warborn looking very, very good indeed in this qualifying session. Outside of row number 2, Jeff Groff come out of turn number 14. See, in fact, another lap. It's the sector. Another pit lane, as were other drivers. Travis McQuistion yet to set that time. 7 is currently 9th at the minute. With Dizzy Wrench, that liveried car. I like the fact that you always say this on some broadcasts, that the ingenuity comes to have custom livery skin done for the car. There are some real pearls out there.
Yeah, I think it depends. Once you get your designer on board, or, you know, if you're trying it yourself with your own ability, whatever you want to do. Me personally, I generally have mine made if I want one specifically for a certain thing. But yeah, if you're having a go at this yourself, you know, I envy you completely, because I can't even work it out by the time I get into GIMP or Photoshop or whatever I'm going to try. Ooh.
Brian. That was a bit. Let's have a look at what happened here.
Did he hit the outside? I can't really see. Let me try and change the camera on and I just sort of see what he did. I think he's just put too much power down, and unfortunately, good night Vienna. That is one of the things that they've got to be careful of as well. But yeah, I think liveries are a wonderful thing, and so many people do different things with them. Some go for real life, like Andy Zitch has gone for that McLaren style. Christian Jasper, where's the other one actually that I was looking at? Gabriel Hope with the old Benetton livery. So, you know, why not try it? Do something different, have a go if you've got the patience to sit there and see how you get on. But yeah, no, I'm generally more of a I go and just get mine made. I contact my designer and go, I want one of them on that, and he'll go, okay. That's it.
It's like, here's your order, fulfill it, please.
Yes.
A little bit of movement in the chat, so a big welcome to everyone on the Broadcasting Network. Final minute and 15. Looks like there's a lot of love. There's always been a lot of love for Anthony chat, and looks to be the case here. Daniel Tax says, I know Anthony can actually take it this week. Style tracks. Pogo Pal says Wolfborn has been living, breathing, eating, drinking and eating this track for the last 6 months to watch out. Well,
okay.
In fact, we've got someone who's just gone to the top of the timesheets and actually beaten Carson Keane to pole position. Gabriel Hopp has just done a 1:24.922. So the Brazilian very, very moment.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what Wilbur can do. There's a lot of love, a lot of determination telling us he can do it. So let's see how he gets on here as well. Anthony Zitch is out on the race circuit. You see what he's done with his car. It looks absolutely incredible. There, once again, that multicoloured machine looks awesome. So he's going to come around and get get this lap in. He's got 10 seconds to get over the line. He should be able to do it. Is it going to be any improvement though? He's got a green in sectors 2, green in sectors 3. Is he going to bump himself up? Whoa, he bumps himself up a long way into 4th. Wilburn goes into 3rd there. Keane in 2nd, and Hop looks like he's going to wrap this pole up.
Yeah, well, Carson Keane coming out of the final corner. Will he make a difference here?
Nope.
To come across the line. No, he has not. So, bit of development here at the Hungaroring Sim Racing for Simpletons. Super Formula season number 4. Gabriel Hop puts it on pole. That's an interesting, mouth-watering prospect. Anthony Wolf's at P3. So, it is going to be very, very interesting race here at 60 degrees Fahrenheit temperature. Flag marshal jacket, 77 degrees, 77% humidity, and 80 Fahrenheit. So hefty warmth on the tarmac, despite it looking cloudy up above, James. But most of the time, the Hungaroring does some surprise about that. Just as we went, so commentated on this, but yeah, that could be it's called a little slow burner, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be. I think the thing will be with, obviously, you can see we're a bit light on drivers, will be the fact that obviously if certain ones pull away, or if we've got 10 drivers and they're all spread out around this 14-turn racetrack, you know, I think you've got to look at the pace that you've got at the moment. 124, then you've got a second all the way through the grid, right the way down to Joshua Benjamin. So in 8th place is the second back. So if we can keep these 8 together, maybe bring in Christian Brewer as well, maybe Travis McQuiston might come out and start the race. We don't know on that one for sure because he didn't set a lap in quali. Then I think we could have a really good race. And I think even, you know, with the small grid, I think we still could have a bit of a barnstormer because there is only a second between them.
Well, here's the grid for round 4. Gabriel Hop on pole position, lining up alongside the Carson Keane, the points leader at the minute. Looking to make strides forward, and he's done that in this qualifying session. Putting it on the inside of row number 2. Anthony Zitch alongside him. 2. Christian Jasper. Jeff Groff making it an all-Destino Motorsport 3 with Brian Long, Joshua Benjamin, Skibbo, and Travis Christian. Top drivers to ready up on the grid. So, it's Super Formula 2-litre inline cylinder turbocharged engines, 500 power disposal, but they have additional 200 seconds of which can be used as an attacking defensive countermeasure circuit who battling with, and it's also going to be very, very useful down its lengthy start to circuit turn. So Hop and Zitch to line up on. Zitch is there waiting for the pole driver, pole position to jump on. Travis McQuiston, who said James said a lap in. There we are, all 10 cars. 5 red lights start to ignite here at the Hungaroring, and round 4 of SR4S Super Formula is underway. See what happens. Decides to thread the eye of the needle, making it 3 wide behind Carson Keane, who gets the whole shot and gets the jump on everybody else.
Oh
well, that is Wilborn, and something has happened there. There are less than wheels on that wagon. Just going to see the replay here. So he goes to defend from Gabriel Hop. There's a little bit of a touch, and Hop up to the air. And straight on for Anthony Wilborn, and that car is an absolute mess.
Oh my golly gosh. It wasn't the interaction between the cars, it was the flash amount of damage that appeared after. It was tyre to tyre, and then all of a sudden it's like tyres. A little bit weird, a little bit strange, but Carson Keane out in front with Brian Long in second and Zitch third, Christian Jasper in fourth. I will say Gabriel Hope did not get off the line at all. Like, if you can have a look back at the starting procedure, watch the number one guy, the guy on pole, just did literally not go anywhere. That was that for Anthony Wilburn, he really had nowhere to go. But it was just tyre to tyre almost there, and then it folds up like somebody's, I don't know, really.
It's like Mr. Miyagi's origami again.
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
Gabriel Hop's now gone into the pit lane. Anthony Wilburn there for over 75 seconds. So Carson Keane leads the way. Brian Long is second. That's but yeah, I mean, also looking back at that replay, James, you can see that Anthony was trying to defend from Hop to try and keep at least, I think, probably third, trying to get it second or third, trying to get into the corner. Everything just went horribly wrong. But Gabriel Hop has now come out of the pit lane, down in 9th place. Travis McChristian, very, very steady in 7th place. But he's on Anthony's niche, so a total of 29 laps for Thomas circuit here at Hungaroring. It's opened back early 1996, so in this time it celebrates its, say this, anniversary.
Yeah, let's not shout that one out, mate. Yeah, because I'll be celebrating a birthday in August and getting closer to the wrong side of 45. Should we just put it that way?
Oh, don't remind me, because I'll probably be saying that in September. But yeah, it's sort of like gone to that stage where, at the minute, a lot of the drivers are seeing their push past. Brian Long has quite a bit of it already on lap 3, so it's keeping within 1.2 seconds Carson at the moment, but Carson does best.
Yeah, you
starts on the front row and just leave.
Yeah, you put Carson Keane out in front, you're in trouble. You know what I mean? The two that were involved in that incident probably not doing themselves the best amount of favours due to the fact that obviously they had an option to defend and do a good job against Carson. Hop taking the pole position, didn't go anywhere off the start. He literally missed it. He missed it by a country mile. He was that late that the bus had already gone. Do you know what I mean? He was running down the road. But the problem is Wilburn didn't really have a choice but to go for that move. You can't sit behind somebody who's going to be so slow. Was there a call on the outside? Was there a call from Gabriel's car on the inside? Well, we're never going to know because we don't have access to what spotter or whatever they're using. But that's the thing. Once they've done that, and you give Carson room now, you've given him room, you've given him the whole shot, you've given him everything, and he's got to open up with nearly 1.5 seconds to set the fastest lap of the race on a 1:26.7. So it's now catch-up time, and who's going to be able to catch him up? That's going to be the question.
Battle here between 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Ditch versus Jasper and Roth, covered by 0.8 of a second or so. Again, it's just, as I said, a slow burner. It's exactly what we've got going here, but back to having a slow aspect of Hungaroring. Got drivers are within a second of each other, and that's for the final step on the rostrum. Consider, Jasper sideways there, coming turn 6. But again, by doing that kind of thing, momentum to the person in front of you, then going to be thrown unceremoniously into the clutches of the person behind. Not too far off them, actually. Joshua Benjamin in the 78. So Joshua started 8th is now up to P6. So from this perspective, the battle that we've got here, also part of the battle for potentially P2, because Brian Long is only like 1.9 seconds up the road, and we know that Zitch, Jasper, Groff, they've all got pace. Joshua Benjamin, it's a little bit of the unknown at the
Yeah, I think that's the thing when you've got somebody like Josh coming in as well. I think just to see how he does and see how he performs, I think is going to be the biggest thing. And when you're looking at the championship in total, and you think, okay, well, we're only on round, we're on round 4. There's still quite a long way to go. It's how they're going to get used to these cars. I think the thing is with this car is, it's one step away before that W12, W13 kind of style. So, they've got to be aware, and not everybody goes up that high. Some people will get to the Super Formula Lights or F3s and stop. Because once you get on above that, man, you're on some speed demon charge here. So you've got to make sure that you're literally comfortable with the car. And I think this is what sometimes it takes with new people who have never driven a car before, that you've got to be aware that this is going on. Do you know what I mean? Take your time, get used to the car, start moving your way up through the order, start getting positions. And as long as you learn something every single race, I think by the end of the year, there's no reason you can't be fighting for top 5s.
True. Well, Anthony Wilborn, after minutes and 5 seconds in the pit lane, not including out of it, is a lap and a half down off of the race leader. It's again on Anthony Zitch and Christian Jasper. They slightly pulled a gap over Jeff Groff. Fastest lap of the race, Brian Long, 1 minute 25.91, and is the person that is the most pushed to pass so far. Bearing in mind, folks, they've only 200 seconds additional boost, and have seen behind Carson Keane, Brian Long, Christian Jasper and Jeff Groff have all just coming down the start-finish straight in particular. And that's where we're going to see a lot of the opportunities for overtakes, especially when we get into the latter phase of the race, James.
Yeah, that's what we touched on at the top of the show. That long run from 14 down to 1 is going to be the most important one there for them. That's how they're going to get their overtakes done. It's how close are you going to be by the time you come out of 14. Well, for these guys in this, for Christian Jasper and Andy Zitch doesn't really want Jasper that close if he can help it, because, he's just forcing Zitch to use his push to pass and try and stay in front, and that's another story for another day. Do you use it all the way through? Are you going to use it bit by bit by bit? You can see straight away, I think, that Zitch isn't using it this time. Neither is Christian Jasper. He's staying stagnant and not flashing. So both of them have now decided, well, I'm not going to use it. And I think if one uses it, the other uses it. It's kind of covering each other off, I think.
Yeah. Brian Long is continually pushed past, so at the minute, because he's trying to keep up with Carson Keane, it's not a bad tactic to have early doors, but if it's too much of it, very much be a sitting duck to the tail end of the race, as we are on lap 7 of 20. Round 5 next week. Second to Barcelona, Catalunya. Very different track to what we have in many respects here at Hungaroring. Again, it's just about getting into a rhythm, knowing how the car is responding to you through steering, brakes and throttle manipulation, and then also your confidence with the SF23. That's also very, very, I think strategy call being Zitch, Jasper and Groff is very, very good at this. They're not that much push to pass. Jeff Groff has got the most available at his dispensation. So Carson Keane's just had a slight off track, so the gap between Brian Long got from about 1.5 seconds to 1.2. Actually, Brian was nearly half a second quicker, but as I say that, Christian Jasper using the pass now threads the eye of the needle up the inside through turn 1 on Anthony Zitch, and now takes P2.
Yeah, Zich didn't use this at all. And you can see just how much of a difference he makes. This is at turn 2 where we said you can jeopardise your exit having a tighter line, and Zich unfortunately can't get through on the run from 3 up into 4. The left-hander just got to make sure, as I say, you don't hit that outside drain, you stay off that curb if you can. And now for Zich, he's got Groff closing in on him at an absolute rate of knots. So this is going to be an interesting one. Can Zich stay with Jasper? It doesn't look like it currently at the moment. Jasper's opening up nearly a second already, but for Zich, he's got Groff coming, and that's never good.
It's about TG knowing where the car or hands is capable, and also to link the strategy with that thought. It's always about the driver and the car being one, but then so many factors amalgamate and then make sure that I think Jeff Groff he's been saving quite a bit of that push to pass, and now he started using it. So there we go, he's deploying as we speak, trying to close that gap. So the sooner that Jeff Groff gets through on Anthony's opportunity to present itself, well, Jeff Groff hangs it to the outside through to T1, run towards 2. Well, Lois was just second, but very, very interesting battle. Even though Joshua Benjamin is 2.5 seconds behind them, Joshua's actually been at every single lap by Chris Gibbo, number 7, right on board Jeff Groff. Oh, God, that's very, very wide through there.
Yeah, he took that in very, very hot. He was lucky not to cause any mass dramas there, but he did manage to avoid what Anthony Zich in front. He's got to do it all again at a tricky racetrack. That's the problem, as we're nearly coming into that mark of 20 to go here. So yeah, he's got to be a little bit careful, because he has lost literally about a second in time there.
Yep, that definitely has. To turn number 13. Groff still holds station in 5, despite the best efforts of trying to get past Anthony Zich, having that problem up at turn number 6. So lap 10 is underway. Christian Jasper sets a personal best. Considerable amount front of Anthony Zich. Gap now between and 4 stands at about 1 seconds. Jeff Groff starting to claw that back a little bit. However, it's 0.8 of a second slower, obviously with that slight mistake. Beat his braking marker a little bit. 10 runners and riders, including Anthony Woods, about to complete his 8th lap. It's the number 16. Best qualifying result of the season so far in B. See with that lap 1, turn 1 incident. Really given us an opportunity to face what the number 16 is able to achieve in this trim. We have seen it last couple of races where he's given a good account of himself, even though there have been some mistakes, but that's part of the learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said earlier on, if you learn one thing coming out of every race, you've done yourself well, because that's what you need to be doing. You know, learning what you could have done, learning, could you do this differently, what line could you have taken. You know, you're going into Catalunya, it's kind of got the same characteristics as this circuit, quite long corners, you know, a few little fast rights and lefts, and that's the thing, it's kind of the same sort of makeup as this circuit. But again, Catalunya is one of them circuits where you're either going to get great racing or you don't get no racing. There doesn't seem to be an intermediary of 50-50. You're going to get one or the other. It's either you're going to get great or you might just get this stagnant race. Obviously, we're hoping for the great racing aspect of things, and we'll find out how they get on when they get there. You know, if we can get a few more drivers on there as well, maybe get the field up to like 15, so we have some good old inter battles. However, Zich has just gone incredibly wide, and that has allowed Jeff Groff through, and that was just one mistake going through turn 5.
Yeah, well, the thing was is that Anthony's counteracting a lot of oversteer whilst trying to apply the power. The thing is around this circuit here, Hungaroring, because there's so many different changes, very, very mindful about how you respond to your events, and that's quite crucial. You can get into the like Carson Keane at the moment, just had another slight off track. That just maybe the fact was going 2-wheel circuit. But the gap between him and Brian Long is now again coming down. It's around about 1.3 seconds. Slowest has been 1 as he now deploys his push to pass down the start-finish straight. Other drivers, well, John Benjamin along Travis McQuistion. Most amount of push to pass left to go. I think Brian Long on course for exhausting his out of everybody. First of all, using it as much as he can, try and keep up with Carson Keane in the race lead.
Yeah, Brian Long is trying his hardest, and I love a good old trier, and I think Brian's definitely trying hard there. It looks like he's flashing it all the time, mind you. I don't know if it's a good idea having it on constantly, but he's doing a great job keeping up with Carson Keane, and I think we'll see how this one pans out. Can Brian keep up this pace? That's going to be the question.
Yeah, we did see a couple of moments where he did go off track, and it's less than 4 wheels on the wagon, along with the missing front nose cone and the front wing as well, when he was a little bit, as you like to say, too many beans on the loud pedal.
Yeah, you want to be a little bit careful on that one. You know, he's just set the fastest lap of the race, 1:25.447. So a stellar run from him. He's just now got to keep up this pace and keep it as clean as you can. I think if you speak to him after, you'll probably find out he will be mentally shattered because he's had to concentrate so hard to try and keep up with Carson Keane that I think mentally for Brian Long, he'll be absolutely done, to be blatantly honest. But I think overall he's done a great job, and if he can maintain this pace, which at the moment it doesn't look like he can, because he's just gone back out to 1.8.
Yeah, but he's on course at the moment for best result in the season. He's got the top 4 finishes, so he's consistently been in the top 5 rounds. But yeah, Carson Keane, well, wasn't here last week. IR back, and as always, he's out front. He's exactly what he knows he needs to do. Just keep it on the racing line, zone race, and not worry too much. Someone in close proximity to Brian Long was 0.7 of a second. Guaranteed Carson Keane very much keeping his eyes on what's happening there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for these guys really missed a trick today. That contact did not help anyone, because it was their opportunity for them to kind of, I don't want to say overthrow Carson Keane, because I'm making it sound like he's the government, you know what I mean? But you get what I mean, like, right? You know, be able to take some sort of emphasis or momentum. That's probably the word I should have used the first time. The momentum away from Keane, and being able to say to him, look, we are here, we can fight with you. Oh, however, that is not good from... Yeah.
Closed in on by Chris Gibbo. Just coming turn 2.
Carl.
Oh, he's just lost it big time and back. There is 3 wheels on the wagon, nose cone, and patched. I think the repair probably in the same ilk. Now it's promoted to 9th. Benjamin's race has hit a big stumbling block, aka a wall.
Yeah. Don't want to be hitting them. They're not good for you. Partly because you've seen how the cars react to it, and you can see how brittle and fragile these cars are. I think that's the thing. These are not GT3s, these are not TCRs, they're not GR86s. They're open-wheeled, fragile machines, and they've got to be careful on how they do things, and that isn't going to help Alex. I've got to be honest, as Josh Benjamin is actually out now.
It's a real shame. Jeff Groff, new fastest lap, 1 minute 25.53. Right on board with Carson Keane. 5. Car. Brian Long still keeping within 2 seconds, but it's like that pendulum swing. It swings one way, then it swings the other. Jeff has also been fast now. Saw Brian coming down the start finish. He has around about 88, just over 80 seconds that push to pass left to go. And Carson, the fact that this is the 3rd race out of 4 season this week, he's able just to micromanage things. Know when the push. Do I need to use the push? Brian deploying again to think how many seconds he's got left, because they are whittling away quickly as we've got onto lap 16 out of 29.
Yeah, he's been on there quite a lot, isn't he? So he can't really, I don't think he's going to have a lot left. He really needs to manage this gap between Carson Keane and Christian Jasper. I think that's the thing. His fight isn't really with Keane, it's making sure that Jasper is in the background there, doesn't catch him, and I think that you've got to be trying to manage that there as well. And if you don't need to use your push to pass, save some of it. I think that's the thing, you know, save it just to make sure that you don't have that problem.
I completely agree. So Carson just taking it in stride like a Sunday evening drive. Shame Joshua Benjamin out on lap 19.9. We're actually going into the next part of the race, so well over half distance. So 16.9 about to be completed. Carson Keane correcting the steering. Power across the line. Gap between him and Brian Long now stems to around about 2 seconds. It's Brian on the pass. See much deployment there, but Christian Jasper has done a bit more usage. Brian making out of turn 1 and into turn 2. Skibbo, who's about 3 seconds behind Anthony Zich. 15. Count of himself, and some best of 1.65. It's now getting to that point of the race, James, where we may see some errors and possible mistakes. The biggest one so far, apart from the turn 1 lap 1 incident, is Joshua Benjamin out of 3.
Yeah, that's really the only thing we've seen. Obviously, there was this one with Travis McQuiston earlier on, but that was back on, I think it was like, where was we, lap 2. So he's just spun round, unfortunately, and done some pirouetting. But that's kind of the only other one we've seen here as well, as you say, apart from the major one at the beginning. But I think they've done really well maintaining that and keeping that as it is. I think, you know, you didn't want to see somebody doing more pirouettes than a ballerina. You didn't want to see cars into the pit lane constantly. And we wanted racing. That's what we've got. Carson Keane, fastest lap of the race, 1:25.313. Stellar job from Carson Keane.
Yes, indeed. And he's extended that gap over Brian Long to just north of 2.1 seconds. Right on board of SR4S car. Holding on to E2 over Christian Jasper in the battle for second place of around 7 seconds. Top left circuit. Brian just careful over those curves, especially with the rain cover we talked on. Still to be within 2.1 seconds. Carson, the first race of the season, won by over 6 seconds. So a little less at round 2 and at round 3 Peggy. Then, of course, having now, I mean, Brian, what I want to do is I want to stay on board with Brian at the moment just to see comes out of turn number 14 when he deploys, shows on the dash, when it deploys the push to pass and how many seconds he's got left, because he is using that rapidly. Going on to lap number 19 out of 29, so 11 to go in this one. Let's see. I haven't seen him pass on that. He's probably realising he's like, save this a little bit. Might expand a little bit, but I want to make sure that I've got enough. Christian Jasper catches me. Something tank to defend with.
Yeah, he needs something, even if it's just a little bit. If he can get to sort of 24, 25 and have something and Jasper's nowhere near him, he might be okay, but he definitely needs something in that machine to be able to fight, just in case he might make a mistake or there might be an error or whatever the situation will be. So he's got to be careful.
Careful, consistent. Two of the main reference championship season take part in, sort of maximise opportunity. Ryan Sterling Bob still 2.3 seconds behind Carson Keane. Christian Jasper rounds out the top three. Jeff Groff, Anthony Zich completes the top five. Skibbo, Travis McChristian, 7. Gabriel Hopp and Anthony rounding out the runners and riders, 9 of them in total out of the final corner. And no, that light on the airbox has stayed green, but just set a personal best of the race, 1:25.147.
Yeah, great job from him. Hopefully for Brian, he can start moving his way forward. Jasper's not really gaining on him. If anything, Jasper's more losing time. So again, he doesn't really need to be using that push to pass as much. Was it his saving grace staying with Carson Keane as close as he was? Probably, absolutely, but I think Brian has been learning a lot as well and has been doing a great job in the car and really trying to move his pace forward, and he has done a stellar job because Jasper is there and 5 seconds back, it's a long time there, and Brian's doing a good job holding on to it.
Yep, so we are on lap 29, so leading this one, 10 to go until we see flag marshal, excitable as ever, waving the white flag before the check had come out for end of the 29 lap rate, which we're not that far away doing. Still, as I said, slow burner. People might say, well, it's been a sessional. Oh, you could say that, but we have also had some dramas of big incidents that we had already. Drivers have had to make an unforced pit stop, forced pit. So whatever happened with them, it's caused a little bit of, let's just say, something not quite going right with the car. It's off wagons, front wings going off, nose cones going off, going either a little bit heavy on the throttle, going straight on and up at the barriers are an absolute mess. Jasper still around about 5 seconds behind. On lap 21 out of 29, Carson Keane just calmly controlling proceedings. Exactly what he needs to do. His own race, not worrying about the fact, expanding that gap to about 3 seconds over Brian Long. Jasper in third. Jeff Groff still holding on to fourth, to further 1 seconds behind Destino Motorsports team.
Yeah, absolutely. Groff just doesn't really look as comfortable as Jasper does. This is the thing, Groff's fighting it out there and is sitting in fourth, don't get me wrong, doing an absolutely stellar job. He's keeping the car on the racetrack. but he's just not looking quite as comfortable as Jasper. You know, best times at the moment for Groff, 1:25.45. So he's definitely got pace in the car, because for Jasper it's at 1:25.49. But over the last few laps, Alex, he's just not closed in on him and really made an impact. So we'll have to see now. But Brian's got to be a little bit careful up front. He's losing contact with Keane by 3 seconds, but still maintaining that 5-second Jasper gap.
Yeah. Laps are counting down as we keep an eye on Jeff Groff. 5, he's 2. Amber down to the side and also has a slight descent angle. Jeff Groff just making his way through to the top part of the circuit. 6. Again, lovely seeing how they sort of glide around that corner. Absolutely perfect. Anthony back into lane. He's 25 off track so far. Has been pinged. Discretion. Missing service. Yeah, I mean it's been an interesting one. I was expecting some more fireworks, but to be honest with you, it's been a pretty solid race. The majority of the 80% of the field, apart from Benjamin, had their own cars and triples. As you rightly said, we go to another new fastest lap. Carson Keen's putting quali laps in right now, 1:24.897.
Yeah, he's doing an absolute stellar job. He's coming down, isn't he? The lower he gets down in the fuel vicinity, the faster he's going. And he's only got 6 laps to go. He's just absolutely dominating this field again. But I'd have loved to have known what the story had been if Wilburn and obviously Gabriel Hopp had not taken, not made contact. I was going to say not taking each other out, but they didn't obviously intentionally do it. But not made contact. I think that this might have been a completely different story.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's always that woulda, shoulda situation.
Mm-hmm.
What if I kept a little bit right as opposed to cover either go? We all know that when you decide to go in the opposite direction, what might have been to play out in the way that you want it, but Carson is always just rare even. Out of everybody, apart from Ty, Josh, and Benjamin, Carson Keane got the most pass. Hasn't felt the need, overriding desire to push that button to make I'll go a bit faster. Always is the way with Carson. Out front, just control the race how he sees fit, run it his way. It's just a joy to watch him hard at work.
Yeah, you've got to admire Carson's talent in this car. You've got to admire his ability to handle the car, the way he can throw it around and do things with it. You know, it's impressive. And unfortunately for Gabriel Hopp, I think he's been throwing his one around a little bit too much here. That's going to go round. You've entered that too quick, and unfortunately he has gone round and jumped straight back to the pit lane. But you know, Carson probably shows a lot of superlatives that others on the grid might need to get hold of him and say, how are you doing this? Do you know what I mean? I can't get this right or whatever, because I'm sure he'll help him where possible.
Yeah, that's the thing about the sim racing community. It's always stand out in the head and shoulder. Still, Tatum. I go, yeah, let's have a chat. And that's how people develop sim racing, you know. Greatest thing since slice. But if you don't show any sort of mystical motion and you're just like open to everybody, yeah, I don't mind helping. Then at least, well, first of all, a green tick rather than a red cross in someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, they're like, oh yeah, who could have about this? Yeah. Carson. But may see if he's got to help you out on that front. That's the thing. It's just about the work. It's exactly what people come together, same love, same passion, help each other out. So that, in some respects, showcases got a talent like Carson. It's very shortly on to lap number 6, so it's going to be 5 to go. This one, 4 to go until the white flag. Yeah, I mean, superlative. No, we could very much run out or regularly rotate superlatives about this man. But at the minute, Mr. Long has been a little bit busy. Pushed to pass. He's just been at the fastest lap of the race. 1:24.627.
Yeah, how much has he got left?
That's the €64,000 question.
Yeah, how much has he got left, and how much has he been in that push to pass now? We're trying to see if he's got it, get him on the cockpit, and if he show us the evidence as such. But whether or not he will, that's a different story, I guess.
I think you've got to use the top of the yeah. It's like using the top of the airbox. That's when we get to see it happen a lot of the time. Pass and then seconds. Play. It's like a bit of a sand time. Riding on from the airbox. Long's number 12 car. 2.8 seconds behind. Turn 13. Gear. Does it by Brian out of the final corner. Let's see. Can't see any message at the moment, so I think he's probably just set himself a little target, or maybe saying, well, if I can't beat him, I want to be seconds by the race end. And he's done that as a goal. I have to ask him about it. If he said, yeah, I wanted to keep within 3 seconds of Carson just to keep guessing what I was doing. So that's why the push to pass was quite literally graciously abused for the first half of it, at least.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's the thing. He has. You can tell he's abused the push to pass, right? You know, he's been at one point it was on it literally what felt like a whole lap, but I'm sure he knows what he's got left, and we've only got 2 laps left. So I would probably, whatever I've got left now, just burn it away, because you're not going to get caught. You've got 7 seconds back to Christian Jasper unless you make a royal mess up somewhere, you know. I wouldn't say you were going to get caught. So for him, I would just, whatever I've got left, if he's got anything left in the tank, of course, then you might look at just using it at certain points here. So that would be what I would do.
Yeah, doesn't want to make a big zero of it. With you. So we are on the penultimate lap of round 4. Sim Racing for Simpletons season Super Formula here at the Hungaroring next week. 7 days. Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. In 2.7 seconds of Carson Keane every single lap so far. Disaster for Gabriel Hopper, pole sitter. It's out of vehicle. Sim rig just lining up. Score championship. Joshua Benjamin doing well, was 6, battling with Skibo, ended up losing back end, spearing to the barriers. 13 is when we lost him, but not that long now, James. Start the white flag lap to Barney, the start line for flag marshal.
Yeah, not long to go now as well. Carson Keane out in front, well, led from start to finish, really. I think we can safely say he's never looked in doubt of ever losing it. Yeah, Brian Long got within about 1.2, not really getting any closer. I don't know if Brian Long's actually got anything left on his push to pass. He's not. He's greyed out. He's done.
He exhausted it.
Yeah.
He's exhausted it.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what? You can give him an A star for effort. We're trying to keep within 3 seconds of Carson Keane, and he's pretty much done that all race long. So, off my cap to Brian Long on that one. But yeah, 2.2 seconds at the moment. He's making it up towards the top left-hand corner of the circuit, towards number 6. One of the things that I think a lot more in these Super Formula, and they sound great. Right, none of this active error like with the drag reduction system, and it's sort of like good old, push the car to the limit, and if you get the chance, well, here's a little bit an extra boost for you.
That's the thing, you know, they are going to get that, and you know, from the Super Formula Lights where you don't get it, I think this is a big step up, and I think there would really go for anybody who wants to try it. Go for it. I think that's the thing. Go for it and see how you get on in the car. But in the meantime, Carson Keane coming over the line, Alex.
Wins out of 4 races, no show at VIR. The winning streak continues. It's 100% success rate for Carson Keane, the number 5 Valley Motorsports car, winning after 29 laps by just 2 seconds ahead of Brian Long. And look at that for a nice little shot. If anyone catches the play file, I'm sure Brian's going to do that, saying, I finished behind Carson. I got P2. Christian Jasper rounds out the top 3 ahead of Jeff Groff, Anthony Zitch. Worked by Chris Gibbo as Carson decides to turn to garage. Travis McChristian line 7th as we are waiting for ever up person. Anthony will finish a couple of laps down. Yep, had 2 wheels on the right hand side of the wagon. Nose cone that was all over the place. Here he comes. Rightly said, James. He'll have learnt a lot. What can happen in turn 1, lap 1. He's going to be the last classified finisher. Gabriel Hopp, Joshua Benjamin retiring on lap 23, 13 respectively. Includes the 3 wins out of the first 4 rounds of season 4. On the way of Canada's Carson Keane in Valley Motorsports number 5. He wins by 3.3 seconds. Brian Long, who captures his best result of the season so far in P2. Christian Jasper in 3rd place. Destino Motorsports car finishing ahead of stablemate Jeff Groff in the number 25 with T9 BM's Anthony Zitch in the number rounding out the top 5. Chris Gibbo rounding out 6th ahead of Travis McChristian and Anthony finishing a couple of laps down off of the winner. Gabriel Hopp actually retiring with 6 laps to go. 16 laps. Fastest lap of the race, Brian Long, 1:24.627. Well, see, there's the full Hungaroring. Well, it's been an interesting one. I'm really excited to see what Barcelona is going to be in terms of action, because yes, it was a different race. Hoping for the slow burner to start, maybe fireworks here, but didn't quite pan out. But still, nevertheless, we've seen some great results from some of the drivers, and shout out to Brian Long for getting the best season so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, you can start off having a chat if you want with some of the drivers. There's 3 of them waiting in the interview room. Let's go 3 to 1. So we'll start off with Christian Jasper there, Alex.
So, Christian, good evening. Well, another podium. Bit of an interesting one here at the Hungaroring. We were talking about the fact it might be a slow burner, and it didn't sort of end up lighting up fireworks like maybe expected, because the it's its own kind of circuit, isn't it? This.
Very much so. Very much so. I feel like I'm kind of putting my foot in my mouth after I got asked about what to expect. I mean, the last time I drove this track was in the F3, and in this car, it's completely different. In the best way possible. I mean, I felt like it was pretty intense at the start, especially having that fight with Anthony. But I mean, it's so difficult to pass, and it's so difficult to really hit your marks that, like, even when it's processional, at the very least in the cockpit, it doesn't feel as such because you have to stay on it the whole time. Otherwise, someone is going to be right behind you to pick up the scraps.
Yeah, it is one of those. It is one of those racetracks that some people racing it, and that was a very good point you brought there as well. Um, not feeling professional. No, sorry, not feeling professional. But it's more the case of very different animal in comparison with F3 Super Formula. You are really bringing everything. Plus, also, you out of yourself both mentally and physically because so much to concentrate on the circuit. Multiple changes, downhill
Absolutely.
gradients, uphill cambers, curbing to watch out for. It really does provide a test in its own right, even though racing might not be what you want.
Absolutely. When I was practicing, I had two thoughts. It feels kind of like a city course because, you know, in the twisty bits, even on the whole track, you don't really have a chance to breathe. Even in clean air, you can't breathe until the front stretch, or maybe even the back stretch a little bit. But even then, as soon as you blink, you're at turn one. And with it being so difficult to pass on the course as a whole, it's it's kind of like, you know, if there's no given passing point at a given corner on any part of the track, the whole track becomes a passing point. It's just a matter of where you force that to happen. It feels like a European Barber Motorsports park.
Oh, very
Mm.
interesting. Got me even at this time in the morning. Even though I've been working over in Europe and then literally had to haul ass just getting back here to make it in time for the broadcast. It was nip and tuck, let me tell you that much. But Barcelona next week, hit round 5 of the season. Is that a track where that might play strengths a little bit?
You know, that's one that is a big question mark for me. As famous as it is, and as much as it appears in every other racing game that I've played, I've never turned a lap there in my life. So this will, it'll be different. I do think it'll be fun. Because I mean, even just watching it, it always seemed like a real fun track to lap. I'm excited for it, but I'm easy to please. So.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Christian, thank you so much for joining us. Anyone you
Yeah, absolutely. As always, thank you guys for putting on a great show. Can't wait to watch it back. And especially with how early you guys get up to put this on for us. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you to Destino Motorsports and Go Squadra. Let me run their colors. And thank you to Infamous Luck for letting me run their colors as well. And Sunset Arctic. Thank you to everyone plastered all over my car. Really appreciate it.
Oh, Christian Jasper, thanks for jumping in post race to have a chat with us, and we'll see you round 5 at Barcelona.
Absolutely. Cheers, fellas.
Take care. Right. Brian Long for you, Alex.
Well, Brian, welcome into the interview room. Best result of the season so far. Well done.
Thank you. Best result actually since I've started this league years ago. So happy.
Yeah, we were noticing that you were doing your push to pass quite a lot in the early stages of the race too, in like a second and a half of Carson.
Yeah, I had to really. It's so hard to follow in these cars already, and then when you get on a high downforce track like Hungaroring, it's not as soon as I was going to be in his toe, there was no way for me to really keep pace. So my best chance was to just kind of give myself a little boost on the straights and keep up with Carson, because I knew the only chance to get by him was him making a mistake, which he never does. So
Well, look at it from also from another positive, apart from it being the best result ever in SR4S. It's also giving you the opportunity to study how he moves and directional changes. That's probably going to be something that will help you out in future, won't it? Sort of having that kind of experience being behind him.
Yeah, I want to agree with you, but I actually wasn't too worried about what he was doing because we were running the same pace. We, for the most part, kept what was 2 to 3 second gap the whole race. So we were doing similar lap times. I just made a few too many mistakes where he did not. So there were a couple times where I might have just slid a little too much past the apex and cost myself 2/10, and that's all it takes for him to grow that lead. And then he would do the same, and I'd close it back up. But I've had the pleasure of racing with Carson now for about 3 years, I think, and it's been really cool to see how fast he's gotten, and we've both kind of come up and improved together, which has been really fun. He's obviously the quicker driver, but I'm hoping I'm closing that gap a little more.
Well, hopefully that might be the case at Barcelona. Of course, a very different circuit in different factors in comparison to Hungaroring. What are your hopes and aspirations for next?
I'm not sure. This week we had a little bit low attendance just because life. A bunch of people were out for different reasons that popped in this week and said they weren't going to be able to make it, unfortunately. And I know a lot of them are watching. So everybody, hope we see you next week. So I think next week it's going to be a little tougher if Aaron's back and Jeff is back and a bunch of the other guys, Seth, and if they're all back next week, it's going to be a lot harder to do it. But I think pace-wise, when I've been on form this season, I should be able to do a podium. So that should be my goal, I think. Hopefully get myself in position for Carson to make a mistake and sneak in a win maybe before the season's out.
That would be one of the storybooks there, Brian. Well, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
To you guys, James, if you're here, thank you so much for.
I am here, dude.
Thanks for working with us for the last 2 years. You've been here as we've been growing, and just the support and the things you guys have done to help us. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody who shows up and watches every week. And thanks to the administrators, Carson and Anthony Zeech, for all the work they do behind the scenes to help me make this thing run. And yeah, thanks to everybody else who's in chat and friends and family. It's been a lot of fun.
Brilliant. Well, Brian, congrats on your best ever result in SR4S, and we look forward to seeing you back in action.
Perfect. Thanks, gentlemen. See you next week.
See ya. Right. Before we go on to Carson King, we've got Anthony Wilburn waiting for a chat, Alex.
Wow, Anthony, good evening.
Hi there. How y'all doing?
Not too bad. Firstly, a really, really good qualifying session. Put it on the inside of the second row, pick 3. From your perspective, can you talk to us what exactly happened with regards to what happened on the opening lap? Because you were going for a move, and I think you were trying to go for at least second. Because Gabriel didn't get a off the line, and were there or thereabouts. But then, what happened from your perspective?
I mean, when I was in the car, I just started braking, and then all of a sudden I was going straight. Like I lost both my tires. I've looked at it a couple of times. Yeah, and obviously, like I'm talking to people about it. I don't think like Gabriel got a bad start. I got ahead of him. I felt like once I got ahead of him, he wasn't gonna be there just because he had gotten such a slow start, but he managed to gain some speed and came up on my left side, and I braked pretty early because I was not gonna risk turn 1 turning into one of those things. And the second I braked, because he was gonna brake later, he had his wheels intertwined with mine. Partly my fault because I squeezed him to the left side of the track. But I guess I didn't expect him to be there after passing him. And yeah, I braked earlier than he did, and he went forward and took off my 2 wheels. At least that's sort of what it looks like. I don't think it's you know, was it sort of was he hoping for a lot kind of being there? I guess so, but I did give him the space earlier, so not like I had the opportunity to close the hole and expect him not to be there. So it's kind of on me too.
Yeah, I mean it's probably end of the day it's a racing incident, one up each other trying to go into turn one. But one of the things that I always like about you is the fact that yeah, you spent what was it? Total over the course of the race, you spent over 4 pit lanes. So you closed out pit lane.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding, one of the things that I like about the fact is it doesn't matter take a knot, dust yourself off. That's the spirit of commitment. And yeah, okay, Gabriel retired on lap 23. Joshua retired on lap 13. But of course, the impetus to keep going is to keep pressing, keep on learning, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I believe me, I'm already I'm in the chat trying to work Brian on the 9X. Like I'm gonna tell everybody right now, like when you put your votes in, 12X would be nice because this is my 4th drive-through penalty in all of our races. And then I got a speeding in the pit lane penalty when I went in for my drive-through. So I was just like ready to be. And then for the last 3 laps, I was on 13X. Now those are on me because those are off track. But when you're driving a little anxious, like you're gonna go off track, especially on this one. And for like the last 2 laps, I was on 13X, and I was like, just get me to the end of this race, please.
Yeah, I just want it to be over.
Yeah, precisely.
But I think also, now go to Barcelona next week for round 5. Is that a circuit that you've done a lot of wheel time with?
Not, are we matching, and maybe you all know, are we matching the season tracks?
I don't honestly.
Okay,
I honestly don't know.
I feel like we might be. I don't know. I got to look at that because I'm just going in I'm practicing like our conditions, our setups. I'm just doing that. I'm not racing them with anybody else. Barcelona is a track that like everyone knows, and I know it really well too. And with do they have the new section in the Barcelona track? I think they
Or the
do.
one where they don't have the chicane, but you have like the right hander and
Yeah.
down the hill. That depends on what layout Brian's decided to designate.
It's the historic.
There we go.
So you
So
have
chicane in.
no chicane coming out of 12. No, you got no chicane. You go from 11, 12 straight round to 13.
Okay, that's I think we're good. Like it's a good, that layout feels a lot better in this car, I think, frankly. But yeah, no, I feel confident. I think in that one qualifying again, I feel like I can show people that I got pace at least for qualifying. I was watching the times, and I don't know if I was working with damage after the fact, if everything got repaired, but like I wasn't putting up the times to hold a spot. Maybe top 5, but I definitely wasn't putting up the times to hold like a P3. So all things considered, right? You finish the race, Barcelona. I'd love for a top 5, but it's gonna take. I might just I don't know, maybe like chill on qualifying, and then try and bring it back because you can pass in Barcelona.
Definitely.
Your question earlier on about the calendar, I can tell you now that yes, Barcelona is on the officials. So is the next one at Portimao. It's only when you get to Magny-Cours that's replaced Suzuka. Circuit of Americas is where it is, and Watkins Glen has been replaced by the Hockenheimring. But then you've got Silverstone after, so you've got 3 more weeks probably of the official calendar that's on the series calendar we're doing now.
Okay, yeah, there it is. I appreciate you looking at that. So, I mean, get some actual races in Barcelona, I think would be pretty helpful.
Yeah, you can do Barcelona, Portimao. You can't do Suzuka because you haven't got it, but Kota you could do as well. So, yeah, definitely would help you.
There you go, Anthony. There's your answers for you. Listen, thanks for catching up with us. Chat post. Anyone chance out?
The same old crew. Dan for being in the chat. Chris, Barf, Jack, Mary, Ness. Ness was watching. So, yeah, all those. I appreciate it.
Brilliant. Anthony, thanks for jumping in for a quick chat, and look forward to seeing how you get on next week at Barcelona for round.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Always an adventure.
And last but not least, who's been waiting patiently, Mr. Carson Keane.
Oh, Carson, how are you, sir? Good to have you with us in the race. Well done tonight. Another win on the tally.
Thank you very much, guys. Happy to be here.
So, first question. We didn't see you last week in VIR. I take it you were otherwise engaged with other things. Am I right on that front?
That's right. Yeah, traveling with my wife. We were on a beach vacation down in Mexico. So I was watching with a cocktail in hand to cheer the guys on.
Oh, well, that's the spirit. That's what we. But um, it now won three of the races. Obviously, Mr. Groff won the outing at VIR. But the one of the things that was quite interesting to hear from Brian was just him for quite a time, last couple of years, and seeing full progression. Was it quite nice to see him in the rearview mirror on a regular occasion rather than seeing somebody else, like say Christian Groff, possibly in the rearview mirrors this time?
Yeah, I was loving it actually. I kept watching the relative, and he was putting the pressure on, that's for sure. And then I don't know if he was just making a mistake, and he'd get to like 1-2 or 1.5, and then he must have locked up or something. But I was smiling, and I was cheering him on. That's for sure. It was really nice to see Brian up there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he did admit that he did start to make a few mistakes and losing a couple of tenths here, a couple of tenths there, but he eventually finished about 3.3 seconds off you after 29 laps, which is also a good. I think it just goes to show the camaraderie we have within the SR4S community, so within the wider sim racing community. But um, Hungary, in some respects, is its own entity. It just sort of delivers either a race where people think, oh, there's nothing much going on, and then something big happens, or then there's big battle happening that we saw between Jasper and Groff. The early sort of like 5-6 laps of the race where they were covered by second battling for. It is an interesting track to drive on, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I think I agree with you for sure in terms of, you either have a really good race or can sometimes have a snooze fest. But as a driver on the track, I think it's one of the more fun tracks. It's super technical. Some really challenging braking zones, some slow, long corners that, especially in this car, can get a little bit tricky. You can get the back end loose if you're not too careful. So I really enjoy this track to drive on. That's for sure.
Next week we go to Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, which is also in alignment with Super Formula. That's another track where overtaking a lot more prevalent. What are your thoughts going into round 5 next week?
I'm glad we went with the historic, like the no chicane, that they got rid of a few years ago in Formula One. If anybody's familiar, so I'm looking forward to that track again. Another challenging track with lots of different corners and different braking zones and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm glad we don't have to deal with that chicane and those sausage curves at the end. That's for sure.
Well, Carson, congratulations on your 3rd win of season. Right? Anyone you want to give a shout out to before I let you go?
You touched on it, but I just want to thank the community. Like you said, lots of good relationships and pretty open and willing to help everybody out. So thank the community, thank Brian, and thank you guys for doing the broadcast as always.
Brilliant, Carson. Congrats on the win tonight. We'll see you next week for live at Barcelona.
Right on. Thanks, guys.
Well, James, really good to hear from our guests in the post racing. But that really is round 4. Round 5 coming up next week at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Another historic track. And I'm hoping it's going to bring some fireworks to the park.
Yeah, I think it should do. again, Catalonia can be one of them, I want to say, funky racetracks where, as I said earlier on, you either get all or you get nothing. I'm hoping not for the nothing. That can be a very processional racetrack. I think, to be honest, the only real cars that I've actually seen make it round there and give great racing was TCRs, but that was on the shortened layout. So I'm hoping that, we can get some more drivers in, get everybody back up and running again, get this grid up to 15 to 18, and have a great battle at Catalonia, because that's really what Catalonia needs.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you wholeheartedly. Well, folks, that really wraps up coverage of sim racing for simpletons round 4, season 4 from the Hungaroring. Don't forget, on the JP Broadcasting Network, all the way through the week, we've got sports cars, we've got GT, we've got Mazda MX-5s, and a whole lot more. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. At it. Well, on behalf of James Parfitt and myself, Alex Goldschmidt, thank you so much for today for this broadcast. We'll see you very soon. So I always like to say, race hard, race fair, and if in doubt, flat out. See you next time. Goodbye.